Hello everyone. Today in this video we are going to create a random behavior with our actors in this scenario. First, before we begin, I want us to create another class. So make sure you create it under the actor class. Select new subclass and let us name this class as Pelican. Select an appropriate image and select OK. Now for this class, its role here would be the predator for our turtle here, somewhat the enemy, which we will be avoiding as we try to eat the burger. So if I run this program, I like to move around here and then at least eat without touching the pelican. However, in this case, real pelicans don't just simply stay in one position. You may want to add some movement, just like a real pelican. So how do you do that? Let's open the Pelican class editor. And again, if you notice, nothing is inside yet except for our public void act, which we will fill up with codes. But for now, let us create some things that will allow us to make it as the actual enemy in this game. So place your cursor at before the last brace. So it should be here and press enter twice. Type well for this class I want to set it to private void. Well, we want to eat the turtle as it touches it. So let's name this as feed or eat turtle. Okay, press enter once. Then, of course, to contain our methods for our private void eat turtle method, we have to use our curly braces to contain the code. Okay, so we're ready to type now the required if statement for this, and that would be the if open and close parenthesis is touching open and close parenthesis again, and then of course it will require a parameter or value. So of course the one that you want to detect, and that will be the turtle.class. Press enter once, open and close curly braces, and then let's type remove touching open and close turtle.class semicolon. Okay, so now we have a code which allows us to eat a turtle as it touches it, but of course you have to place it first or call it, or sometimes you call it or invoke the method inside the app method. So type eat turtle open and close parenthesis then semicolon. So simply you just call the method name along with its parenthesis. Now we try to compile. Okay, so if you notice my pelican disappears, or pelican uh, disappear as I compile again. So you may want to, before you run the program, save the positions of your pelican and save the world. Okay, so now it should be ready. So run. Okay, so and if I touch it, my turtle disappears, unfortunately. Alright, so other than of course, eating the turtle. We want it to move like a real pelican. So how do we add some movement? So here again, in our pelican class editor, I'm going to add new methods. And again, for this method, I'm going to type the private void as its method signature. Then, of course, when you think of a method name, it should be descriptive of the actual purpose of this method or function. So let's call it run wild. Now, in this method, opening, close, curly braces, we want our pelican to move around. So let's, of course, let's add some movement like moving first. So let's make it move. Well, give it a value. Let's say move 7, semicolon, and then press enter once. Now, as it moves, well, of course, by this, I think you can expect already that your pelican will move towards the right, and as it goes towards the right, it should be stuck in the left or right side of the screen. So what do we want our pelican to do is, of course, to react on that edge. So if is at edge, again, these methods are already built in with Greenfoot. So I can just find which methods to use under the Greenfoot class documentation. So press enter once and then open and close to contain our then statement. So if it's at edge, then of course react to that and probably turn 45 degrees away from the wall, or if not 30 degrees. Okay, so you can play with the values. Of course, that will affect the behavior of your pelican. So if I compile this and run the program, we should not encounter any error, hopefully. Oh, I forgot to call it under the public void app, and because if we don't call it, it will not be implemented. Okay, so if we run this program, that should happen. Okay, so if it was a synchronous sport, then the Pelicans would have won already. But that is not how real Pelicans work, right? So probably they would move in simultaneous manner, but of course they have their own way of moving. So individual Pelicans can move in different directions. So what we can do here is to create some way to randomize the actual movement of our pelican. So how do we randomize the behavior? So we will get to use another method that will come from another class. So let's go to help first, select Greenfoot class documentation, and let's revisit our reference. Now, ordinarily, if you want to check the methods of the Pelican, which it can readily use, most likely you would check under the after. But this time around, to save us time, I'm going to lead you already to the Greenfoot class, in which it says in the description, it provides methods to control the simulation and interact with the system. So let's see which methods we can use here, or what method exactly should we use for the random actions. And let's just check the table here for methods, and there, I hope you can see the get random number, and it says in its description, return a random number between 0, which is inclusive, and the limit, which is exclusive, so it is not included. All right, so when you see the word limit here, it refers to the number of numbers, or the pool of numbers in which the random number will be chosen from. So only one number will be chosen from this pool of numbers. So there will be a range of numbers that will begin from 0 to the limit, but the limit is not included. So think of it as limit minus 1. So Let's try to use it in our code, and that will appear in our Pelican class, and of course here in the method run wild. So I'm going to put my cursor back again under the run wild method. My cursor is right after the last curly bracket of the is@s. I'm going to add another space there. So if I want to use the random actions, or I want to randomize when it should move, when it should turn, then I could probably use it in an if statement. So let's go back to our Greenfoot API. Remember, our getRandomNumber has a return type of integer. So int, it can only return a number. Let's go back to that idea later as we move on and create our if statement. So if getRandomNumber, open and close, parenthesis, and then for the meantime, let's provide a limit. So 100. So given the range of numbers, there'll be 100 numbers to choose from, but the range of numbers in which we will get the random number would be from 0 to 99. So remember, the limit, which is the 100, the actual number 100 will not be included in the counting. So 0 to 99 only. And then let's try to complete this first by placing your cursor at the end, adding your then statement, open and close curly braces, then type, well, we want to randomize this, so turn. For this movement, maybe let's make it a big change, so big angle, so turn 45 degrees. That's it. Alright, so as I move on, and remember in this Greenfoot version, it auto-compiles. So if you notice, we have another error already, or a new error, which says cannot find symbol, method get random number integer. So it means that, well, it's your computer telling you, I do not know what you are talking about. I don't know what method is this, get random number. Well, we might want to check first if we have misspelled the get random number, and let's see from the Greenfoot API, and it says here, well, we have the right spelling. So get random number, capital R and capital N. So in which part did we commit a certain mistake? Alright, so remember that get random number, much like the method that we used before in controlling our turtle, which is the key down method. Alright, so this is the key down method. Came from another class, which is the Greenfoot class, not from the actor class. So we are just going to borrow a certain method from another class. And so we are going to type the prefix Greenfoot before get random number. Okay, so that should fix the problem of not knowing this, of the compiler not knowing this method. So get random number. So you have to always tell what is the source of the method unless it came actually from its superclass. But given that we're just borrowing it from the Greenfoot class, you have to tell the computer. Click compile. And this is again a graphical error. So let's hover over it, and now we have, I think, fixed the actual problem, but this time around we have a newer problem here, which is incompatible types integer cannot be converted to Boolean. So remember, we are here working on our if statement, and always conditions of an if statement must answer true or false. So a question that can be answerable only by true or false. Given that get random number only returns, remember the return type only returns the integer or an integer, then most likely this is incompatible because what is being required here is a Boolean expression or equation and or a Boolean method. So how do we convert it into a Boolean method? Well, the fix would be simple, of course. It has to answer yes or no. So if we get a random number, what to do with that? So we have to compare it, and to compare it, we use the comparison operators. It could be less than, greater than, equal to, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. So what to do with this situation? Well, we could probably use less than 10. So less than 10 means out of the numbers that will be selected from, like or one number to be selected from 0 to 99, if it's less than 10, now that can answer true or false, given that, let's say for example, the random number generated by the computer is, let's say, well, 50. So 50 is from 0 to 99. So one number is 50 less than 10. So if 50 less than 10, and of course, based on what we know, that would be true. So it is less than 10, then it will proceed on turning 45 degrees away or from its current position. So that is how it works. Or same as like another example would be a random number like um, oh, take that. I'm sorry. 50 is not less than 10, so that would be false. So it will not turn 45 degrees. So instead, of course, let's say a number that is less than 10 would be 0 to 9 out of 0 to 99. So maybe, for example, 1. So 1 is less than 10, so it should turn 45 degrees. Now, again, for the 50, for example, it was 50, it's not less than 10, it's greater than 10, then it's not going to turn at all. So let's compile and see and run the program. So if you notice now, the movement of our pelican, if you notice that my turtle has been eaten already before I get to actually control it to eat the burger, your pelicans now can move almost individually. They have their own turning moments, and now it's more interesting when you run the program. Okay, so that is how random number works in Greenfoot. So you can use it as a part of the condition. I want to make this as a part 1 of the get random number because for the next video, I plan to look deeper on how else can we use the get random number method. Okay, thank you and goodbye.